Our next guest, we had him on, I guess it was a few weeks, maybe a little over a month ago, and he's a freaking superstar. We couldn't wait to get him back. Brock Vereen, Big Ten Network analyst, of course, CBS Sports. That other pregame show where I think it was on that show, he was flexing a little bit on CBS Sports, of course, Sundays with our buddy Shine, 8 a.m. to noon. I think Brock was flexing. Did you start the season going 12-0 with your picks?
I did start 12-0. A lot of people were surprised. I wasn't. I'm waiting to lose. It's just another day at the office, if you ask me.
Barack, you should have gone George Costanza and said, "I choose not to make any more picks."
Just go on top. I love it.
Shut it down. Retire. We had a little fun with the quarterback position, Brock, and we want to talk about what's happening in Atlanta, but let's talk about New England. So J.C. Jackson, they traded and reacquired the cornerback, of course. Judon goes down. The rookie Christian Gonzalez goes down. It's a desperate 1-3 team. And the question is, do they have the answer at quarterback? Mac is falling out of favor with the Patriot fans right now, Mr. Jones.
He has, and I still don't hold any of it against him. I understand what it looks like, but at quarterback more than any other position, the second year, if you play as a rookie, which he did, is the most important year, and they ruined him. I mean, that is the most important season coming off of success. I mean, it's a situation where we forget at the end of his rookie season, he was far and away the best rookie quarterback of that year. So to blink, and this is what we have now. Last year, I mean, he even had to reach out to his old coaches at the University of Alabama to say, "Hey guys, I'm not getting any coaching here. I'm losing it. What is going on?" So whether he is the guy, whether Zappy's the guy, I know that they said technically Mac will be the guy going forward. We'll see if there's a rotation situation. If these are the final days of Mac Jones as the starting quarterback in New England has no one to blame but themselves for setting him up for failure last season.
Brock, let's expand on that a little bit. As a former player, tell me what the thought process is like when the Emperor decides to make Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator. Everybody's afraid to go at Kim Jong-un and tell him that he's wrong. So how do you assess the situation if you're a Patriot player and what's going on in that locker room?
What Bill Belichick has is cash in the bank, literally, and also figuratively in the way that he can do whatever he wants because he has so many rings and so much success to prove it. I would argue if any other coach in the NFL, other than maybe Tomlin and Harbaugh and Shanahan, anyone else tried to do the stuff that New England has tried to get away with in these past 2 years, there'd be a lot of yelling and screaming coming from GM and ownership. Kraft gives Belichick free reign. There is no GM. Belichick is the GM. He does whatever he wants, and there's nobody there except for Kraft to call it out. And if you're Robert Kraft, you think, why would I call it out? He's done crazy things before, and it's been successful. What we're seeing now is a guy who has earned every right to have free reign over his franchise, but this is what happens when he makes decisions that don't work out.
Brock Vereen, yeah, he's got success equity. He is 71 years old. You mentioned Tomlin. Tomlin's a favorite, Brock, of bettors because, you know, whether or not, of course, you know, he's never lost, had a losing season in all his years. Pittsburgh just went to Houston and got embarrassed. He turned around. He's like, the boys are going to be practicing in pads on Wednesday this week. Like, what is it about Tomlin? I know you didn't play for him, but I'm sure you know people that know the dude. Like, what is it about Tomlin? And they've got Baltimore coming to town. Baltimore's laying 4 this week. Do you expect a bounce back for the Steelers?
Tomlin is the man. And while I never played for him during the pre-draft process, Pittsburgh was one of my visits, sat and hung with him for a day. And I actually grew up a Steelers fan. So once I got over that, I thought, man, it would be awesome to play for this guy. And that's what he has. That's why he's been there forever. That's why he'll be there until he decides he doesn't want to coach anymore. He's a guy that every player says, I would get a beer with this guy. I would go on vacation with this guy and his family. He's just, when times are hard, it's so easy to look at your coach and say, that guy's got my back. I have his back. We're going to figure this out. And just like the Belichick conversation, when there's a track record of Tomlin figuring it out, granted not as many championships, but he's going to figure it out. And whether that means heads rolling on the offensive side of the football, so be it. They know that the AFC North, with the Bengals in the state that they're in, the Ravens really banged up, and Cleveland, incredible defense, obviously offensively, need to figure some things out. The health of Deshaun is another thing. It's wide open, and it was expected to be the toughest division in all of football this year, up there with the AFC East. That's not the case. So Tomlin is saying it's go time. We can make the playoffs because the AFC North is in a weird place, but that only happens if we figure out Kenny Pickett and this offense immediately.
Brock, a guy who did not get your great genes in looking young, Arthur Smith, has got a quarterback that's going to age him even more than he already looks. Tell us what you do if you're the Atlanta Falcons.
I don't know, man. He has that mustache going for him. He has us all beat right now. What I went into last week saying, okay, here's a Jacksonville defense that just got torched by C.J. Stroud. Now, granted, at the time, we didn't realize how good C.J. Stroud actually is. But the point is, you cannot go into that game and not only lose, but struggle offensively. Jacksonville's defense is not a good defense. Similar situation to the Tomlin conversation, the AFC North. The NFC South is wide open. Carolina can't block for anyone. The Saints look like a mess. Derek Carr's going to fight through this injury, which honestly might make them worse. Tampa Bay is there, but no one's entering a game versus Tampa Bay scared, right? So I feel they're in a situation that they should be panicking. We have dudes offensively. We have dudes defensively. It's not a schematic thing. It's not a youth versus vet thing. It's just the quarterback. That is the only position that can right the ship. Desmond Ridder, he's playing conservatively, but he's also playing conservatively and making mistakes, right? You can be hesitant to take shots as long as you don't turn the ball over, but he's turning the ball over. I don't know how much longer they can hold off Heineke, but they are doing their team a disservice when they should be primed to win the NFC South. Until they figure out the quarterback position, it's not going to be a possibility.
Brock Vereen, as always, killing it here, sharp money. Speaking of quarterbacks, look, I know Jones was bad on Monday night, but your boy Brian Daboll showing him up on national TV, like it felt to me like Daboll was kind of hiding behind Daniel Jones when that roster isn't very good. The offensive line is a sieve, Brock. Like, I know Jones wasn't great in the game, obviously, but that's not all on him, the 24-3 loss to the Seahawks.
I don't care if Tom Brady was playing in that game. If you given up, what was it, 11 sacks, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who is back there. It does not matter who is playing quarterback when your starting center, who may be your best offensive lineman right now, and he's a rookie, right? If that doesn't say enough about the state of this offensive line, I don't know what does. Did Daniel Jones panic? Absolutely. Would you panic if your offense gave up 11 sacks? Absolutely. I don't know what you want him to do. And as far as Daboll, you can get red-faced and criticize and toss the iPad at him and curse under your breath all you want. You just gave him $100-something million. He ain't going anywhere. So you may as well figure it out.
You're absolutely right about that. When you look at this team right now, they're in a little bit of disarray. Which one of the young teams, quarterbacks right now, besides C.J. Stroud, has really impressed you? Anthony Richardson, he's been running the ball, but has he been effective enough as a thrower for you to sit there and say, hey, I believe?
So I believe in Anthony Richardson if we were playing Madden and the injury sliders could be set to 0, right? Like he is the best athlete on the field. Outside of defensive linemen, he's usually the biggest guy on the field. It's not sustainable. So I guess it's kind of a backdoor way to answer your question. He has impressed me the most outside of C.J. Stroud. But at the same time, I'm asking him to immediately change the way that he's playing football. Show us that you have an arm, because as fun as it is to watch him run and lower the boom on these guys, this is not the SEC. You will continue to be hurt for the remainder of the year if you do not stay in that pocket.
All right. When we come back, Brock's going to stay in the closet for one more segment for us. Big Ten Network analyst, CBS Sports, that other pregame show. It's a very good show. I encourage you all to check it out. CBS Sports Network.
Thank you.
8 a.m. to noon on Sundays.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.